Thank you. Mr. Roy, you have 2 minutes to answer the question or rebut. Go ahead.
Thank you. The committee that is studying 98 Bank Street has taken their time because they want to make sure that they do make a sound decision. Also, some of the members are not always able to get together that easily. We have gotten together, and I am a member of that committee. We have gotten together on a few occasions, and we did take a tour of the high school. We also asked for a tour of the facility at 98 Bank Street. At our last meeting, we went over all the pros and cons of what we thought as far as space was concerned at the high school or 98 Bank Street. The process now would be to find out what it costs for the town of Seymour to keep 98 Bank Street open. 98 Bank Street is a very expensive building to keep open, or to keep it on the rolls of the town of Seymour. There are very, very high costs for energy there. It is an old building. It is not handicap accessible to the Board of Education office. So that's a difficult thing for some parents and children to be able to get up to that 3rd floor. So all these things are being taken into consideration. No decision has been made. Nobody said that the high school is the place that the Board of Ed should move. And because the town sells 98 Bank Street, doesn't mean that the Board of Ed would have to move. They could stay there if they wish. The point is that 98 Bank Street, that building, has become a liability to the town of Seymour. Very expensive to keep up. The public works crew has to plow it. The public works crew has to maintain the grounds. And personally, I believe that they have enough other things that they need to do. So we need to continue studying whether this building should be sold.
Okay, thank you. I have a follow-up question for Mr. Roy. You have 1 minute to answer the question. Is that what that? I believe Mr. Miller had said there was no dialogue with the Board of Education at the start of this process. What did you do as First Selectman to initiate dialogue with the BOE at the start of this?
Well, I left most of the stuff up to the committee that we were doing. The first thing they wanted to do was to get a tour of the high school, which we asked the Board of Ed, or we asked the central office, I'm sorry, if they would provide us with a tour of the building. When we came to the building, there were several Board of Ed members here to give us the tour. So there was some dialogue back and forth between members of the 98 Bank Street Committee as well as from the Board of Education. At that point, we needed to go back and discuss what we saw at the high school. And as of now, we have not gone back to the Board of Education because no decision has been made or questions have come up to be answered to the Board of Education.
Okay, thank you. On to round 3 question. The answering order this time is Mrs. Loda, Mr. Roy, then Mr. Miller. Second question tonight is, infighting with the Seymour Police Department has been widely publicized, ranging from union complaints to the demotion of a high-ranking detective. What will you do as First Selectman to sort out the issues and solve any perceived internal problems within the police department? Mrs. Loda, you have 2 minutes to respond. Go right ahead.
That's a very good question because there have been a lot of stories in the paper, and I've talked to a lot of people, and there is a lot of dissension in the police department between management and police officers. And I think as First Selectman, you need to be down there trying to work these issues out. I don't think you can stand on the sidelines. And I just feel that at this point, I know the First Selectman has appointed another committee to kind of override the elected board, the police commissioners, which I find is a little troubling. I don't know, if there's legality problems there, because it's my understanding that the police commission is an elected board, and they're the ones that rule over the police department. I think there's a lot of personalities involved, which very often create a lot of problems. So at this point, I don't have enough details myself to be able to give a definitive answer to how I would handle it, because I don't know all the problems.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Roy, you have 2 minutes to respond to the question or rebut. Go right ahead.
Thank you. I think one of the most important things that the First Selectman can do is to attend the Board of Police Commissioners meetings, which I do. Many issues come out at the Board of Police Commissioners meeting, and then you can figure out where the issues lie. At that point, you need to have conversations with folks. I've had conversations with the chief, with the lieutenant, with the union, and we talk about issues that are going on in the department. As far as the committee that Mrs. Loda is referring to, that is merely a study committee. It is not overstepping anybody's bounds. It is merely studying the possibility of alternative work schedules which could save the town of Seymour money. The overtime budget of the police department is very high. So we need to try to figure out ways to reduce that overtime budget. I merely appointed a committee. I'm not on that committee. There's someone from the Board of Selectmen, someone from the Board of Finance, someone from the police commissioners, as well as some police officers that wanted to be involved with this committee. I think it's been a very productive committee. I've heard that they are having some good discussions, but you know, this is an important step because we need to be concerned about budgets in the town of Seymour, and the police department budget is one of the highest. I think if we can come up with an alternative work schedule that the police officers enjoy, that will help a lot with the morale in the police department. When they can come up with a plan that works for them, they will understand that they're being appreciated and that they have an opportunity to contribute. So I think it'll go a long way to solving some of the issues at the police department.
Thank you. Excuse me. Mr. Miller, you have 2 minutes to respond to the question or rebut. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Eugene. If I could use my time to kind of take a step back from the question that you asked and kind of look at it more as a global or a bigger issue. I think the problem that you had mentioned in the police department is a problem that we have in other areas of town with our other departments as well. And I think the thing that it truly comes down to is lack of a true HR function within the town of Seymour. We have the First Selectman who's acting as the personnel director, and through no fault of his own, that is not his area of expertise. It wouldn't be my area of expertise, nor would it be Mrs. Loda's area of expertise. Because of that, one of the things that I asked to do last year was to use HR Consulting Group, which is an HR company right here in Seymour, to come in to do a full audit of the town of Seymour, looking at all of our departments, looking at our employees, how they're being trained, how they interact together. Because our employees make a commitment to us, we need to turn around and make a commitment to them to make sure that we're providing them the best possible work environment, the best training, and so on and so forth. That audit was approved by the Board of Selectmen at our first meeting in March. It was a 5-week process. We are now entering the month of November. The process still hasn't been complete. So I think we're going to continue to see these problems within all of our departments in Seymour until we finally take a professional and positive stance that we're going to give our employees the tools they need to do the job the right way. And the only way that's going to happen is if we bring in some type of professional HR function. Now, I'm not standing here saying we need to hire another high-paid administrator. There are plenty of consulting firms that would come in, whether they're working 1 day a week, 2 days a month, something along those lines, that can provide us the necessary tools that we need to not only make a better environment for the management of the town, the employees of the town, but more importantly, provide the best possible services for the residents of our community.
Okay, thank you. I have a follow-up question for Mr. Miller.